At Subway, start your day the flavorful way by adding new guacamole to your favorite breakfast sandwich. Perfectly made with a hint of jalapeno, our guacamole turns up the flavor to your breakfast. Try it today on a hot and toasty egg, white, and cheese. Subway, eat fresh.
The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. The BS Report. The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
We're at South by Southwest. We held this podcast because this book is coming out. When is the date?
April 7th for Simon & Schuster.
April 7th. So
but
this is the week you'll see
right
this.
now.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we'll put it up.
Okay.
Brian Grazer. They always give me a list of all these different people that are here.
Yeah.
And there's always a couple ones where I'm like, oh, I want to talk to that. And you were one of the people. I've always wanted to talk to you. You've done some really interesting things.
Thank you.
You've had quite a career. So what made you write a book?
Well, what's happened is every 2 weeks for 30 years, I've met somebody that's expert in anything other than entertainment. So science, medicine, politics, religion, sports, a lot of boxers. I know a little bit about boxing, but a lot of athletes that I'm not expert on the sport, but I've met them and I become expert on their process. So I've done this for 30 years. Every 2 weeks, and I just thought this is a way to kind of compress that or synthesize it and turn it into a book.
So basically like things you've learned from being a curious person?
Yes, things that I've learned from being a curious person. And there's certain commonalities. By the way, in categories there are commonalities, and there's also universality in the entire group of the 30 people. But so that's what I did. I wrote a book about it. Initially for my kids, because I thought, I've done this now for quite a long time, and they'd probably like to know what their dad's doing other than making movies and television. And I really dedicated a lot of energy to this discipline of these 2 or 3 hour meetings with people.
So you're saving the next book that has all the war stories. That would be book 2.
That'd be book 2.
This is the book you can proudly show your kids.
Yeah, this is the
stuff.
one that kids can see.
The next one is the one that has all the crazy Hollywood
all the brutality.
Stories in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm sure you've had a few moments that you've write nicely about in a book.
Yeah, and in this book I have some failures. I mean, well, there's triumphs and there's failures. I've had some people that have picked up and they've left within a couple of minutes. They just we didn't find an access point, or they didn't find an access point with me, and they just got up.
So
let's hope you don't do that.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
You and Ron Howard have been partners forever. I mean, how many years was it?
Well, over 33 years, really.
33 years.
Yeah.
And people like you guys. Like in Hollywood and LA, it's one of these places where everybody bitches about everybody and there's a backstory to it. But for whatever reason, you guys have moved into that circle of people actually always speak kindly of you guys, which, I mean, are you aware of that?
Somewhat, but I'm somewhat, and I'm mostly, kind of objectively grateful. It's just, I've tried to, be honorable, not, it's a rough, Hollywood is a rough business. It's a battle zone. And if you can handle yourself with some decency, as Ron does, and as I, do my best to do, you're rewarded with goodwill.
One of the things that's amazing to me is that you guys stayed together that long. Because
that is amazing.
I mean, most partnerships, if there's enough creativity in it, it's got a shelf life. And you see in Hollywood all the time, two guys together, and maybe they last 5 years or 8 years or 10 years. But eventually, somebody's ego, or maybe they'll get tired, or they want to prove they can do it on their own, or whatever, and it goes like this. Yeah. But you guys have always been like this, it seems like, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So why?
We have just this weird alchemy. It's, I think we're probably self-motivated. I know that I can't have a boss. Anytime I've had a boss, I've been fired. So
that sounds like me.
I don't know.
No, it really does.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really does.
Yeah.
Good. We're in the No Boss Club.
We're in the No Boss Club. I'm a very hard worker. I've got a good work ethic. The whole thing. I just can't be motivated by people telling me what to do.
Yes.
Instructing me, trying to put me in a box. It doesn't produce a good result. But if I get on a subject that has, has mutuality, that is mutually interesting to all parties, I can work hard and I can lead that group. I'm a pretty good group leader, and I hold on to the vision and the intention of the vision for years and years and years and years. And some of these movies that I've produced I mentioned to you Friday Night Lights, that took 13 years to make, based on the book Friday Night Lights that Buzz Bissinger wrote. And actually, Alan Pakula, who directed All the President's Men, wanted me to produce this. I was a young but fairly successful producer, and he said, I really would like you to produce this, and I'll direct it. And sadly, he died very, very unexpectedly on the East Coast. He drove into a truck that killed him.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so
this is like the early 1990s, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was left with the book. I love the book because for me, what happened is, in high school, played high school football, and in an auditorium of 300 kids, the coach reached out and asked all of us to be accountable. Like, in other words, say your status. And he said, Grazer, tailback. He said, incorrect. I said, incorrect. He said, cut. And so I was cut in front of 300 kids, which was really emotionally devastating to me.
Yeah.
And I held on to that memory, and when I read this book, Friday Night Lights, which is about 3 subjects. It's about high school football in a very small town, Odessa, Texas, but it's also about how a boy's identity is formed. And I thought I can relate to how a boy's identity is formed by, what could be a slight incident becomes seismic in their life.
Yeah.
And that became Friday Night Lights. Produced that movie, and then we turned it into a series that went on for 5 years.
And was kind of ahead of its time. I feel like if that comes now, it's such a bigger success by how the ratings things are, and Netflix, and it would have been so much easier to catch up. And if you missed season 1, you just could have binge watched it before the DVDs.
Yes, because it's a binge watching show. In fact, kids, of course, like they get these DVDs, or they can get it now on Hulu or something, and they can just binge watch it. But that is the best way to actually watch Friday Night Lights.
I owe you $30. I'll pay you after the thing. Well, I missed the boat when it was on. And then I didn't want to get in midway.
So you ripped somebody?
No, I might have bought Japanese DVDs on eBay.
You might have.
So I might have watched the entire season 1 with Japanese subtitles on the bottom of each screen of every episode, and I didn't care because it was great.
Oh, that's cool. Good, thanks.
Yeah,
I'm glad you watched it.
Because when I was about to jump in, everybody was saying it was going to get canceled.
Did you learn Japanese?
I think I did, subconsciously.
Yeah.
But when I jumped in, it was like, or when I wanted to jump in, it was halfway through, everyone was saying it was going to get canceled.
Right.
Oh, it's not going to last. I'm like, I'm not getting involved in a show that's going to, and then it got picked up, and I was like, oh, I got to get in.
Yeah.
And I'd seen the movie, and I knew Pete, obviously. But but back to Ron Howard, though, for a second.
Let's do that, yes. So why does that work?
Well, but it's a classic, like, he's the quote-unquote, at least when you formed it, he was the quote-unquote famous person, and you were the guy with him, and you leverage his brand to try to get... But then at some point, you guys just became really good at stuff.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I mean, he is very... we have completely different neurology. I mean, there couldn't be 2 people that have more different neurology. I'm pretty hyped up. I like manufacturing ideas of all type. And he is very good at calmly executing ideas. So I was manufacturing ideas when I met him, having had produced a couple of movies for TV that did well. And then we had this meeting, and I had no idea he could be a great director. There was no evidence he could be a great director. But he had this sort of glow or this aura about him when I met him, and I thought, this is a really good human being.
And we should mention, nobody under 35 would know this, but there's this whole other generation where he's Opie and he's Richie Cunningham.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're Opie and Richie Cunningham. You're not a director. Exactly. What are you doing?
It's a really good point.
Stop it. Go back to being Richie Cunningham.
Exactly. He was, the time that I met him, he was Richie Cunningham on the biggest hit show on television.
Happy Days was huge. There was no show you could even compare to it now that was like Happy Days.
And he would get mobbed in New York or any airport. He was mobbed. Fonzie really did, but so did Ron Howard.
Nobody understands. It's impossible to explain that Henry Winkler was the coolest person in the world for 3 years. Nobody understands it or gets it. But he's like, no, he really was. He just put on a leather jacket and went like this.
Yeah, and he had a little accent.
We were all in. We were all in on the Fonz.
I know. but he definitely isn't the Fonz.
Right, no, he's not.
That was a good acting job.
Yeah.
And Ron Howard was this super, super wholesome guy, kind of a squarehead to Fonzie, and this wholesome kid. And we met while he was Happy Days, and he said, I want to direct a feature movie. And I said, I want to be a feature movie producer. So we were sort of two unemployed guys that hired each other to go forward. But he was a huge American icon. And I wasn't famous in any way at all, and I didn't have this hair to differentiate me. It was just sort of a flat kind of Beach Boys look. And I later changed it, as you can see right now.
Well, wait, say what the movie was.
Night Shift.
One of my favorites.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Night Shift. I bet you've been on a couple of lines.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Don't do that. Okay.
No.
But people do have lines. It was super famous. Yeah.
I was so in on Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Because then he was also going on Letterman, and he was one of Letterman's best guests. But I've been in on Michael Keaton since the moment he was Billy Blazejowski.
Wow.
I was like a 12 or 13.
Yeah, that's probably right.
It was I probably shouldn't have been allowed to see that movie. I think I might have snuck in.
It's an R-rated movie.
Yeah, I think I snuck in.
Yeah, you probably might have.
And Kevin Costner's in it, which you guys should redo the DVD and the Blu-ray and be like starring Michael Keaton, Kevin Costner.
I know. Just recently, Kevin Costner had a retrospective done for him for like the Producers Guild Awards, and he actually has the credit goes up, the screen comes up, and it says Kevin Costner in Night Shift. He didn't speak, but he was in Night Shift.
Well, he's in a great scene. They're having a bachelor party in the funeral home. And Costner is like the head of the bachelor party, and they're wheeling like something, and Costner's like, and it's like, hey, that's Kevin Costner.
Exactly, it's Kevin Costner.
He's doing that. Keaton, is it true that he almost got replaced during that movie, or the studio wanted him to get replaced?
Yeah, there is some truth. Ron Howard was terrified he was going to get fired because he let Michael Keaton chew gum in scenes. Couldn't get the gum out of his mouth, so he was delivering dialogue with gum in his mouth. The studio just didn't like. Warner Brothers, nobody liked that. And it just seemed sloppy, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But he was brilliant, and I just didn't want to. I mean, I think part of the Ron Howard attraction to me was that I wouldn't let him get fired. I wouldn't let Michael Keaton or he get fired.
For people who don't know, Night Shift is a movie about two guys who work in a morgue who decide to become pimps.
Exactly.
And it's actually realistic as you're watching. You're like, totally this makes sense. I can totally see this career decision.
Exactly.
And it's the best Shelley Long performance. Shelley Long had a nice little run because she was unbelievable on Cheers.
Yeah.
And she's really good in that movie.
Yeah.
And it was like just kind of caught her at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Keaton, you caught at the perfect time. Like you gotta get lucky with some of this stuff, but I think that movie still holds up.
Oh,
it's on cable every once in a while.
Yeah, it is. Good music,
then what happens?
Good soundtrack.
So that movie does well. Keaton becomes a star.
And then, the movie does well. Keaton becomes a star. Everybody else pretty much does well too. And the movie I really wanted to make was Splash.
Yep.
A comedy about a man falling in love with a mermaid, which was kind of based on me in Los Angeles, because I wrote the first couple drafts of it. Like, how will I actually find a girl in L.A. that would be cool and would like me? And I thought, it seems impossible. And
it turns out it's probably fairly impossible.
It was fairly
impossible.
Yeah. So
I mean, for everybody. LA is a complicated place.
Yeah, I mean, you could find girls, but they're not going to be the girls you're going to want to hang with for a long time.
Yes.
So I was finding those. And those girls were actually in the movie Night Shift.
They were in the bachelor party scene.
They were in the bachelor party scenes. They were the hookers in the morgue, actually.
Right.
But so they were more easy to find in West Los Angeles. So in any event, so I said, Ron, I really want you to do this movie Splash. We did so well on Night Shift. You've got to do this. Got to do this. And now he's become kind of really hot, Ron Howard.
Yeah.
And I had to talk him into it. And in fact, he first says yes, and then he ducks me and says no. And I call his house over and over and over again repeatedly. His wife, Cheryl, answers the phone and says, Ronnie's sick right now. I go, he's not sick. I just saw him yesterday. I know he's not sick.
Yeah.
Horrible fever, 103.
Yeah.
I go, this is just not true. I know he's not sick. But I was really persistent. I lobbied Cheryl. I lobbied Ron. I called Ron's dad. I called his brother Clint. I just did it all. Finally, got him into it, and we made it at Disney. And Disney at the time was not a successful company at all.
Right. That was Eisner's there at that point, right?
No, it was pre-Eisner.
Pre-Eisner?
Pre-Eisner. It was Walt Disney's son-in-law.
Oh, that always goes well.
there was running. The son-in-law.
This happens in sports all the time. It's like, the son-in-law is going to run things. Like, oh boy, hold on to your seats.
Yeah, exactly. They're now owning the team. Right? They're picking the coach, head coaches. Yeah. So that's what was happening at Disney. A version of what you just said. But I'd convinced him to make the movie.
But wasn't like there's weird casting stuff and like the mermaid,
What happened is I convinced Ron Howard, I convinced the studio, I got everybody like go, go, go. Then the studio decides they're going to actually read the script, and they realize that the mermaid is going to be naked. And that's just like a thing you're not doing at Disney.
Disney wasn't a big fan of that.
Yeah. So I go to Ron Miller, who's the chairman, the son-in-law, and I say, look, man, she's going to wear a body stocking. She has to appear to be naked. I mean, mermaids don't wear clothes. I mean, it's just going to break the entire reality of what this is. It's going to be problematic. And he says, look, if you can convince the board of directors of Disney to give you the thumbs up okay, I'm cool with it. So I literally went and I lobbied the board and the board of Disney was run by a man named Card Walker, a very pretty, as you would guess, Card Walker is a pretty staunchy, straight-ahead guy.
Yeah.
I just said, you're not going to see the nipples. It's going to be impossible. I'm going to have a body stocking. You're only going to see the back of her, blah, blah, blah. And I somehow convinced, rope-a-doped them all into letting
She's going to have blonde hair that goes over her boobs, but when she's swimming, the hair is still going to so miraculously stay over the boobs.
Yeah, good memory, exactly. Yeah. That's how she swam, like that. Exactly.
Was Tom Hanks always the person?
No. There were so many other possibilities that preceded Hanks. Hanks was not a star or anybody, but...
He was a star to me.
From Bosom Buddies.
Of course.
Wow.
Iconic
show.
show.
And he culture.
But he was also Michael J. Fox's drunk uncle on Family Ties.
I don't even remember that. Actually.
Yeah, he was Uncle
really?
Ned. Two-part storyline. I learned a valuable lesson about alcoholism.
Which was?
That was during the era of every show had a special lesson and something, and you had to learn stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I learned from Tom Hanks that I shouldn't steal liquor from my brother's cabinet and drink it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So then you stumbled into
So you're grateful
him.
to Tom Hanks.
Very much so. I love Tom Hanks.
So then once we couldn't get any stars that would be appropriate. We had some stars that were completely inappropriate that said they would do it.
Like who?
Dudley Moore.
Oh, no.
Didn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's...
All right. And then we had I thought I almost had... There was a time where I thought I was going to get Burt Reynolds. That's how far that dated back. I thought, get Burt Reynolds.
But he was still a massive... Even Dudley Moore was pretty... He had Arthur.
Yeah, all that. But he just was so... wasn't right. Yeah, wasn't right for it. So once I couldn't get an appropriate star, then I just started reading who I thought would be good at it. Who would actually just... Their acting would be convincing, and they would produce the emotion that I want to have.
Yeah.
And so I read Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks was great, and hired him.
So you really could... The book should have just been called I Hired Michael Keaton and Tom Hanks. Because it's basically what happened, right?
Well,
two of the five most important careers. And Kevin Costner. You get credit for that.
Yeah, had those...
You launched everyone's career. This is great.
John Candy.
John Candy was
really the guy that blew up and got paid the most on Splash. Because he was just this irreverent, bigger-than-life character. 6'4", funny,
So that movie does really well. At what point do you and Ron Howard say,
let's be partners?
Let's be partners, and we'll get them to pay us, but we'll own everything with the movie, and we'll just make a lot of money.
Okay, so that happened almost immediately. Well, immediately Ron Howard thought, this is great. Brian, let's you and I be partners and create a company. But I was dissed so badly by Disney at the time. Now Disney now, I love it. My best friend Bob Iger is the CEO of Walt Disney, and but it was a different company. But they, they invited Ron Howard to go to the Dobell Film Festival. They wouldn't invite me, and I wrote it, and I just felt like I can't be partners with someone that's that famous.
Yeah.
Where I could
You're that marginalized.
And thank you. And I'm that marginalized. Thank you.
But now the son-in-law who ran Disney, now you can taunt him when he's serving you a Starbucks. He's making you a latte. You're like, hey, remember that time?
That's so funny. There was a guy that actually replaced him that was the one that actually did the dissing. And I did do a version of that.
Yeah. So you formed the company.
So then I said no.
And then you guys have a really good batting average.
We have a really good batting average, yeah. So
they don't have advanced metrics for movie producers, but I think you guys would do well.
Yeah.
I think you would have a high PER.
We'd have a
high BBIP. All those stats.
We'd have good stats. So then we did become partners.
Yeah.
And it became
so from mid-'80s on.
Mid-'80s on, beginning with, essentially beginning with Parenthood. And I did kindergarten. We did Kindergarten Cop.
You're still getting paid on Parenthood somehow.
We're still getting paid on Parenthood.
Unbelievable.
We just did 100 episodes of the Parenthood TV series.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's taken on different forms on different.
But when everything's going well, though,
Yeah.
at some point,
Yeah.
you get the irrational confidence going, and you make some sort of project that you talk yourselves into because we're red hot. We can do anything.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So what was that project?
For me, it was Crybaby. Crybaby starring Johnny Depp. What?
Johnny Depp, you could say you discovered him too, sort of.
Well, I did discover him.
Yeah.
He was only doing TV.
21 Jump Street.
21 Jump Street, exactly. But everybody was attracted to him, as was I. I just thought the guy's really sexy, he's explosive, he'd be great for this. John Waters was the director.
Yeah.
And I thought the movie was going to be, I thought it would either be Grease or a flop, which it was. But you do.
And then the Tracy Lords part of it became part of the thing everyone rememed for it. They hired Tracy Lords.
The teenage porn star. She was in it. We had Patty Hearst in it. We had Iggy Pop in it. We had a whole group of interesting.
But that wasn't like a big budget gamble by you guys.
No, it was a little small budget.
So what was the first big budget one that you
big budget flop?
might have whiffed on? Yeah.
I didn't whiff on many big budget films until more recently. But early on, I didn't. Because I made I produced a lot of comedies.
Yeah.
That worked with stars. Give
us some examples for people who don't
Liar,
know.
Liar, I produced with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
I produced Dr. Seuss's The Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey. I produced a couple of several Eddie Murphy films, including The Nutty Professor 1 and 2. I produced Boomerang.
I love Boomerang.
Yeah, all the cool.
And Nutty
kids,
Professor printed money.
Yeah.
Boomerang, I talked to
Yeah.
David Allen Greer is friends with one of my friends, and we run into each other once in a while. And I would say, the Boomerang, it was just an unbelievable group of women in that movie.
Yes.
It's like almost like the 92 basketball dream team of cast
girls
from that era. It's outrageous. And Eddie that was the last time he was really Eddie in a movie, I feel like.
Yeah.
After that, he became kids movie Eddie.
Yeah.
Very but true. It was like, he's good in Boomerang.
Yeah, he was good. And literally there's a part of Empire that's kind of born out of how people looked in Boomerang. For me, the stylistic component that existed in Boomerang where African Americans were allowed to be glamorous and wear glamorous clothing,
cool mustard overcoats and
super cool stuff. We get to do that in Empire, which I think is a factor. It's.
I didn't know this. Empire is under you guys?
That's me. Oh well, there's other people, but
Hold on,
me too.
we gotta hose him down. Okay, do you want my water?
7 times.
But Empire is the hottest show at Grantland in the office that people talk about.
Wow.
You must have noticed the ratings went up every time for 9 straight episodes.
Well, I've noticed that. No, I know that. But when you said the hottest for Grantland.
Oh, yeah.
But as I say,
he just yells at people like, "How are you not watching Empire?
Yeah.
How are you not watching? I don't understand. Do you like TV? Do you own a TV?"
That kid Yaz is amazing. You wrote a piece on him, on Hakeem, and
yeah.
And Lucius is. He was, for Lee Daniels, he was one person, and for me, he was another person. I produced a documentary, a concert that became a documentary with Jay-Z, and I thought, gee, this is like what Jay-Z's life is kind of, it's a version of that. Or Quincy Jones, I know, had he decided to really become a corporation, Lucius is a version of Quincy Jones, or what Quincy Jones could be.
I have 9 of them on my DVR, and it drives him crazy.
Really?
Because I'm saving it. It's like a bottle, like somebody gives you a great bottle of wine at a party, and you're like, I'm going to put this one over here. So I know, at some point when I'm on the road for hoops or whatever, I'm just going to plow through them. Not with Japanese subtitles, though. I'm actually going to
go real on it.
Yeah, I don't. That kind of scarred me a little bit. But Empire is this might be the biggest. What was the biggest TV hit you had before
24 was the biggest TV hit, which was huge.
Yeah, I guess 20. You're not going to top 24. Well, you might get in the ballpark.
Well, yeah. I mean, right now in terms of having an effect on the culture. I think 24 and Empire are pretty volcanic, but 24 didn't start big. But this started, as you're pointing out, it's just blew up, and like it's really exciting to us.
And Arrested Development was the most street cred?
I guess so. That's more kid street cred for sure. Yeah, I love Arrested Development, but it never
was never a huge money.
Never
maker.
A huge thing. No. But people are loyal to it, and we're going to do another 17 episodes. So stay tuned for Arrested Development.
Empire, I think you might finally turn out okay. I think you might finally make enough money to buy that house you wanted. This will be out for 10 years.
I hope so. I love it too. I'm so glad that you lit up over that because
I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Really?
That's the hottest show right now.
It is. Every single, I mean, not in 23 years, I guess, has a show ever gone up week after week for, I think it was 5 weeks, and now we've gone up for 9 weeks straight.
I mean, what an amazing thing that black people watch TV, and and for whatever reason, nobody was producing shows that might resonate with that culture and then expand outside the culture and become, like, why weren't networks trying to do this? Why wasn't this a priority? I don't understand.
I don't know. Well, I do know. I mean, the networks, operate, by and large on previous paradigms. And so I don't think they felt there was that much elasticity in this audience.
But Shonda Rhimes was like an entire Thursday night on ABC. At that point, they should have realized it.
Yeah. Well, Shonda Rhimes is a genius. She kills it. But I think with ours it's different than hers, of course, but it has the Scandal and our show have the soapy qualities about them that keep you really wondering what's going to happen next week, that heighten your state of curiosity, as you're saying, and it just, what's going to happen, and we always, every week, try to have 3 sequences that blow your mind, like, did they just do that?
Yeah.
Did she just take her clothes off and get into bed with him?
Yeah.
So there is that component that has some similarity. We, of course, sing on our show, and that's really working well. Like, this album that just dropped is really big right now.
Oh, you're gonna get album stuff too.
We
out
have
of
an
this?
album that just dropped. It blew
You're
up.
definitely going to buy that house. I can feel it.
I think I can get that house, maybe even a condo somewhere in New York or something.
What movie are you most proud of all the ones you guys did?
Probably.
You had to pick one.
I like A Beautiful Mind. I'm the most proud of, and I was the most surprised in the best way with 8 Mile, because there were rap movies that preceded 8 Mile, but people really didn't believe they could do what it did, and I
was one of those people
that didn't believe it.
I was like, Eminem's going to act, and Brittany Murphy's going to be in this? What? This sounds like a disaster.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
Thank you.
I liked 8 Mile. I actually am mad at Eminem that he decided just not to act anymore.
Stop. Be Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think he could have done a couple projects that would have been cool.
Yeah, I'm still trying. I think he was tremendous to work with. I mean, his work ethic is off the chart.
Right.
And is very respectful of the process. I mean, he reached my heart on so many levels. I mean, certainly artistically, but just his dedication and his commitment to be good at it. To be the best that somebody could be. You worked with Cruise, right? Cruise is like that too, right? I worked with Cruise, and I'm working with him again right now on a gangster movie, a true story about a drug trafficker named Barry Seal. Yes. Oh, it's a great character. These guys make fun of me. I've been on Cruise's corner for 30 plus years. Yeah, he's gonna kill it. I even made everyone go see Jack Reacher with us. Yeah. I'm in on all Cruise movies. Wow, cool. I love Cruise. Cruise had a great career. He people always try to get rid of people after a certain time, and it's like, Cruise is really good. I still enjoy him. I love him. He's a force. He's a force. And I did work with him on Far and Away like 20 years ago. He's a tremendous leader. Like, there was an expensive movie, and I remember I just thought, somebody has to set the tone. And I said to Cruise, will you be the team leader and make this, be the role model that makes this thing go well? And he goes, I'll totally take care of it, man. And he sprinted back and forth the trailer. He set the tone, and the movie came in on budget. And he's great. One of the things I love about Cruise is he always tries to learn stuff for movies. Yes, he does. And if it's like he's in Cocktail, he's going to really learn how to bartend and juggle bottles. Yeah, he does, exactly. So in Far and Away, he had to be a boxer. And you could tell Cruise took classes and was learning how to box. And you're 100% right. But he always throws himself in. He's a race car driver. He's got to race the cars. Yeah. If he's playing pool, he's going to become really good at pool. Yeah. He's in this movie about this drug trafficker, Barry Seal, that he plays. he is going to do all the piloting because
Of course he is, because he's Tom Cruise.
He's Tom Cruise, and he's a pilot, but he's going to pilot every single thing. And it was like low-tech jets and stuff. He's just insisting. He knows he's competent. He's convinced everyone he can do it.
That's why you couldn't have him in Apollo 13. But no, I'm going to be an astronaut. I learned.
Yeah,
I'm going to space.
He would have been the guy that made it to the moon.
I got to do this. It's for the part.
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right.
So what else do you have coming up? Or are you just Empire now? You can just go live on...
Well,
Did you actually buy Hawaii? Like, how does this work? It's not even like buy a beach. You can buy states now.
Well, I'm so glad that you're hooked on it, that it's your anthem here. Like,
I'm not hooked on it yet. I'm prematurely hooked because, look how happy he is. Have you ever seen anyone that's happy?
They're glowing.
It's all, they all love it.
Yeah.
So you got that? Any movies coming up? Anything?
I have other movies coming up. I have actually a couple interesting ones. A smaller movie that literally just focuses on the subculture of lowriders. You know, like Saturday Night Fever. It's focused on a closed world.
One of my favorite movies.
Saturday Night Fever. And then we started, in 8 Mile, we sort of took a version of that because we thought the stakes have to live inside a closed world.
Yeah.
So doing that one. I'm also doing another Dan Brown, like Da Vinci Code movie. It's called Inferno, which is his 4th book, but it's a 3rd movie. And Ron Howard is directing it now in Western Europe and in Istanbul. And it's called Inferno, that Ron's directing. Tom Hanks is the star with Felicity Jones, who's hot and good. And I think that's going to be a great movie.
Give me a movie from the last 10 years that you wish you guys had done, that you were jealous of.
I love American Sniper because it's a kind of movie that I have the taste for, I have the interest in, and it's not out of my skill set. That was amazing.
In the box office was pretty good, too.
Was really good.
Cooper was
maybe
great
just like Empire.
What actor have you not worked with yet that it frustrates you that you haven't worked with somebody?
Let me think about that. First, I'd love to work with Denzel again for the 3rd time. I've done 2 movies with him.
Which ones?
American Gangster and Inside Man. But who have I not
I loved Inside Man.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Good.
Spike's hit or miss, but that was one of the ones where Spike hit.
Yeah.
25th Hour, I think, is my favorite Spike movie, but I thought Inside Man was really good,
I'd love to work with Jennifer Lawrence. I'd really like... I like how brave she is. Beyond being charismatic, she's really brave and totally unpretentious.
Did you go to the Producers Guild's Awards this year?
I did. I was in the Producers Guild, but I wasn't there in attendance.
Because we went this year because we got nominated for 30 30, and she presented to...
oh, that's nice.
She presented to somebody, and she owned the room.
Everybody
was in love with her. And she's one of those rare people that... Women are also okay with her. They're not threatened by her. They actually really like her, too.
Yeah.
And men obviously like her, and she just kind of owned the room. And it was like, this woman should run for president.
Yeah.
I think she'd win.
President,
Nobody's not voting for Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah. I think women like her because she doesn't play a game. She's not playing a game with the audience. She's just so present and so real and has whatever foibles she has, she lives with them. And she happens to be attractive, and she pulls that off in a way completely unpretentiously.
Was there anybody you worked with that you think, or that you didn't work with,
anyone
that you should have worked with, that you wish, you were like, man, I wish they had taken that part. It would have been so good for them. Or it would have been so good for me.
Yes. I produced, it's going to take this. I wrote and produced a movie with the late Harold Ramis, who wrote Ghostbusters, Stripes, Animal House. He and I sat in a room, wrote a script called Armed and Dangerous. We wrote it for Belushi and Aykroyd, and in the end, they didn't do it. And I wish it would have been a smash. It would have been so hip had they done it. But
Belushi was kind of, at that point, he was starting to do weird stuff anyway. Yeah.
He would have been good for us, though.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to work with him. He had such a beautiful heart, actually.
Yeah. I love Belushi.
And I like Danny Aykroyd. I've done 3 good movies with Dan Aykroyd. Spies Like Us, right after Splash, which was a success. I did My Girl, which he got paid a lot of money.
And by the way, everyone who's under 15, after they're born, before the age of 15, sees My Girl. It's in that rotation.
Yeah, my daughter's probably saw it 50 times. And girls love it.
And you're the guy who killed Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, I know. Let him
You
get
did
stung by a
that. That
bunch
was
of
the most
bees.
controversial
God.
move in the history of movies, I think.
You're like a cinephile. You know all the details
Dude,
of all this
this is,
stuff.
they all make fun of me. See Tony over there? Tony can't believe my memory. He's like,
Amazing.
I'm a freak.
Well, I'm a huge fan of yours, by the way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad we did this. We might have to do it again.
That'd be great.
Maybe with Ron Howard.
Totally.
Would he do it?
Of course he'd do it.
Could we talk about like partnership and all that
Yeah,
stuff?
we can talk about partnership.
He would love that.
Ron Howard and I could talk. We could banter about why the partnerships work so well. First of all, we never argue.
That's
We've
amazing.
never in 30 years raised our voice and had an argument. He's super respectful. So therefore, I have to be super respectful. So my nature would be to talk and be relatively demonstrative. His nature is to keep it all between the lines, and we do it together, and it works really well. I think respect is huge.
When everyone talks about child actors, they go off the deep end.
Yeah.
He's the most successful child actor. He did not go off the deep end.
He didn't go off the deep end.
He
He never became a porn star.
Right.
He never did anything bad.
For every 10 screeches, there's Ron Howard.
Yeah, exactly.
The book is called A Curious Mind, and it comes out on April 7th, but you can pre-order it on Amazon. And all those pre-orders go to the bestseller list, so that's good for you.
I'm hoping, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. Thanks for doing this finally.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank
yeah,
you.
It was fun.
It's been great.
South by Southwest, check out all the other interviews that we did, and we'll be back.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.